Story 1. My husband's nephew put his hand on me while I was sleeping. If I tell anyone, this whole family will be ruined. My husband's nephew and godson is 17. My husband got a job offer overseas for a month. We live in a house, and because I felt uncomfortable living alone in the house, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, suggested that I stay with them in their guest room. I love my husband's family, a big loving family that took me in and welcomed me with open heart and arms, even though I came from a broken home with no family to love me, especially his oldest sister, 47. My husband and I are 41 and 32. I loved staying with my sister-in-law. Everything was going great besides missing my husband, who I spoke to a couple of times a day. I am a night owl, and when everyone went to bed yesterday, I stayed up in the living room to binge House of the Dragon. I must have fallen asleep on the couch. I woke up later to my nephew's hand under my shirt. I pushed him away, but he put his hand on my mouth and pushed me back on the couch. He hit me hard a couple of times and told me to stop moving. I grabbed a cola glass I had on the coffee table and hit him with it. My sister-in-law must have heard him grunting in pain and came downstairs. She started hitting him and pushing him out. She asked him to go to the guest house, and she went after him, probably to see to his head injury because he was bleeding. She later came back and took me to the bathroom because I had peed myself and cut my hand with the glass. She later gave me sleeping pills and stayed with me in the room. I woke up today at noon. Everyone but my sister-in-law was away. All the warmth had gone. She told me she was so disappointed in me. She opened her home to me, and yet I used her son. I told her that she knew the truth. She saw everything. She said she saw nothing and nobody would believe someone like me, and if I wanted it on my conscience to break this family. I wanted to leave, but she blocked my way, because what will the family say? I started crying and begged her to let me go, and I won't say anything. Now I'm home and I don't know what to do. This will destroy my husband. He loves his family. They are his pride and prize in life. What if he resented me for breaking his family and ruining their reputation? And worse, what if he didn't believe me? He'll be home in 3 weeks. The black eye will probably be gone by then. Edit. I'm sorry I messed up his age. He's 15 and will be turning 16 in a couple of months. I did bad math. Edit 2. Thank you for the response. I'm sorry I can't answer every question. I want to say that I've talked to my husband now, the usual scheduled phone call before bedtime for him, but I just broke down crying and told him everything. He FaceTimed me and saw my face. He told me to pack a bag and wait for his friend to come and pick me up because he never wanted me to be home alone. My husband and I have been married for a little over a year, and we have been living in this city, my husband's hometown, for a couple of months. I don't know many people here. Anyway, he told me to stay with his friend and his friend's family. They're good people. He is flying home tomorrow. Thank you, and I'm sorry again for not having the opportunity to answer everybody. Update. Hi everyone. This is a throwaway account. I have written here before and I got a lot of support. I owe 100% to the online community that I took the correct measure and told my husband. If it was up to me and my own thoughts and my SIL, I would have just kept this quiet and tried to move on. I will, however, not answer any DMs because I don't want to read all the sick and abusive DMs like the ones I got from my first post. I will gladly answer your comments here, but I'm deleting this account as well after this update. I want to answer a few questions first. The first question about my last update. Why does my husband believe me without questions? Many speculated that my husband must have known something about his nephew, and that's why he wasn't so surprised. No, I asked him this and he said apart from the bruises on my face, he just believes me. I have never given him reasons not to trust or believe me. The second question is, why did my husband told me to live with his friend's family? Many questioned why I wasn't independent enough to live alone in my house. This is a new town to me. I come from a very big city with people everywhere. To move to a smaller town, living alone in a big house was a big change for me. I didn't feel comfortable, so my husband suggested that I should live with his sister and bond with my new family. After what happened, however, I went back home. My husband was floored by his nephew's actions and honestly, he didn't know what to expect from him or his parents anymore. He was scared they would hurt me, so he didn't want me to be alone. He was adamant that I didn't tell his family where I was either. He was just terrified. Also, I'm sorry I messed up his age. He was born on November 6th. It makes him 16 soon. I did the math wrong and made him 17. My husband came home late in the afternoon the next day after my post. I have never been so happy seeing him as I did then. He called his sister and told her he was going over. When he came home, it looked like he had been crying. He asked me if I wanted to press charges and that he wanted me to do it, but only if I wanted. When he was at his sister's, she tried to put the blame on me, but he told her to cut the crap. If she really cared about her son, he asked her why she was not more worried about him, the way he escalated to beating a sleeping family member, going this length to overpower them. He also asked her why she gave me sleeping pills. About that, I don't know why I took them. I just did. I've unfortunately always obeyed people who I thought had authority over me since childhood. She told him that I was panicking and she couldn't calm me down. Anyway, she denied that her son had ever done anything like this and that she still thought I came on to him. My husband talked to his nephew as well, and he was saddened to see that he wasn't sorry or affected at all. He didn't apologize even. He said he was trying to wake me up because the couch wasn't comfortable, and I hit him. We have made a report. There's not much more I can do. I don't think it will lead to anything tbh, but I wanted it to be out there. My husband's brother called him to yell at him. They have already started with the smear campaign. My husband told them my side. I don't know who they will choose to believe. My husband has 6 siblings. We will have to see how this will unfold. His nephew is still a child, and my husband doesn't really want to hurt him. He thinks he needs help, but not the type his parents are offering, enabling him. Also, he shared the sentiment that many of you have. This boy will do it again, and probably I wasn't his first. It pains him because he loves him very much, but he needs to tell people what he's capable of doing to protect their families. My husband has been quiet and distant these past couple of days. I didn't know what to do about it. I just felt immensely guilty. I didn't know if I dared to apologize to him and ask his forgiveness for ruining his relationship with his favorite sister and her family. When I finally had the courage to do it, he looked surprised at me. He cried and told me that he was the one who was sorry. He thought that he was finally giving me the big family that I dreamt of. I didn't know anything about my family, and he hugged me. I cried in his arms. We don't know what will happen now. We have plans on moving back to the big city. I don't know what to do with my new job. I need to quit after a couple of months. I'm a preschool teacher, so it shouldn't be hard to find a new job or get my old job back. Thank you again. I don't think I will be making any more posts. I just want to heal and move on. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. My ex-husband cheated on me with my sister. It's been 6 years since, and I just received an email from him. I, 33F, met my ex-husband, Dan, 40M, almost 15 years ago at a restaurant when I was celebrating my 18th birthday. He was really nice, charming, and mature. He made me feel loved and special. For some context, I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My mom and dad used to always fight. My dad would sometimes go out and not come back for months. He died when my sister, Abby, 5F, was born. My mom was way too fond of Abby since her birth rather than me. Abby was basically babied by my mother. She didn't neglect me at all, always did her best as a mother, and provided for me, but I always felt something missing. After Dan came into my life, I didn't feel like there was something missing from me. He supported me, he was caring, and he would always buy me gifts and take me out on long drives. I felt complete when I was with him. We got married after dating for 4 years. I wanted to start a family right away, but Dan encouraged me to do my master's and helped me build my career. He wanted us to be in a stable position financially before we started thinking about having kids seriously. He was the best guy I could ever ask for. After 5 years of being happily married, I discovered that my husband was cheating on me with Abby. I discovered the affair when my husband made an excuse that he would go out of town for a week. But he stayed in town and he booked a hotel room where he and Abby could have sex. This has been going on for 6 months behind my back. I was really devastated. Abby and I were close growing up. I loved her and cared for her. How could she do this to me? After the D-Day, Dan and I had a fight. I asked how could he do this to me, that too with my sister who just turned 19. He said he didn't love me anymore, that I don't give him enough attention, that I am not the same girl he fell in love with. Between this mess, I discovered that I was pregnant, but due to the stress, I lost the baby. He didn't even care enough to visit me at the hospital when I lost our child. He was having a weekend getaway with my sister. I should have seen the signs. Abby would always be touchy with Dan. Dan would sometimes stare at her, but it was still very disturbing for me. My mother, as usual, took Abby's side and told me to just make peace with it. I wanted to kill myself because I had no one left. I lost my child and my husband, my whole family. Then my best friend, Tina, my savior, came to my rescue. She was moving to another state and asked me to come with her. I said yes. I was already divorced at that point, and we lived in a small town, so I would obviously run into my ex and my sister. It took me a while to settle into my new life in a different state, but I met some kind people there. It helped me heal some trauma. I still have trust issues. I met my now husband, Tony, 32M. After 1 year of moving to the new place, I was really hesitant and kept my guard up, but he showed me that he was trustworthy and loved me a lot. I was so happy with him that I almost forgot about the life I had back in my hometown. His parents were really welcoming and generous people. We got married a year ago. I am now pregnant with our first child. Yesterday I got an email from my ex, Dan. He just brought back all the bad memories. I am just paraphrasing his email. He mentioned that he misses me. He tried to find me but couldn't. He is very miserable with my sister. She is very dumb and doesn't care about him like I do. I used to bake him a cake and throw birthdays for him, but Abby only texted him happy birthday and didn't even bother to buy him a cake. Plus, she is very rude. She doesn't respect him. She is always at the bar with her friends. He also mentioned that she had cheated on him 5 times already. The last affair was with his cousin. Our mother also doesn't stop her. He will soon file for divorce, but lately, he has been missing me a lot. He wants us to try again as a couple. He wants us to become a family just like before. Since I do not have social media except for Instagram, which is private, he probably doesn't know that I am married and I have a baby on the way. I don't know if I should feel pity for him or just laugh because the grass on his side is very brown rather than green. Update. Thanks to all of you who messaged and showed me support. I have decided to send him an email and be done with it. It goes like this. Dan, I am sorry to hear that you are suffering, but there is no way I would be with you. Yes, there was a time when I used to be that girl who would have taken you in a heartbeat, but that girl is not there anymore. That girl died the day I had a miscarriage and you were somewhere shacking up with my sister. I called you, but you never picked it up. I am married to a wonderful man who loves me and cherishes me. I am also pregnant with our first child. I am beginning this new chapter of my life with someone I love and care deeply about. So please do not contact me ever again. You made your choice. You chose my barely legal sister over me. I do not care if she cheats on you or she doesn't respect you. Someone like you doesn't deserve loyalty and respect anyway. I have left my old life in my old town. It will be best for you to move on and have some self-reflection on yourself. You are just a deeply insecure man who is getting old and thought having a young woman would be good by your side. Goodbye. Update 2. A lot of you have been asking me what he replied. Well, he replied within an hour of me emailing him. He said that he was stupid enough to believe that I would still wait for him, and he said he would always wait for me because no matter what, I would always be his baby doll. I cringed hard. He used to call me that, but now it feels repulsive. I also got an email from my mom and my sister. My mom just congratulated me and was excited that she was going to be a grandmother. And my sister also did the same and said she would be the cool aunt. I cannot believe these people. They forgot how they treated me when I needed them and moreover, betrayed me. I cried for a long time because I have been reading your comments, and it seems like me and my sister were groomed by that man. I feel so stupid. I know I shouldn't be mad at my sister, but she was old enough to know it's bad to have an affair with a married man. That to someone who is your sister's husband. I blocked all of them. I am 5 months pregnant already. I don't need more stress. God bless my husband. He comforted me when I cried, and later took me out for ice cream. I hope I can move past this. Update 3. I cooled down now. I think I can make a more elaborate update. Thanks to everyone who has shown me support. I needed it. The email from my ex just struck me like a train. I had flashbacks of everything he had done to me. I think you guys deserve a detailed update. After I sent him the reply mail, he emailed me within an hour with the thing I said in my update 2-part. A few hours later, I got 2 other emails from my mom and sister. They sent me to my old email address, which I hardly use now. I don't know how they knew about my pregnancy. I try to keep a low profile. I still haven't posted my baby bump pics on social media or made any announcements. I only have Instagram to follow my friends. But it just scared me. I broke down crying on the spot. Luckily, my husband Tony was around. He held me and put me on the couch. He knows everything about me. I never hid anything from him. I was a little bit scared that my mom and sister would find me. He reassured me that I was hundreds of miles away from them. I mean, we are in the opposite part of our country. He took me out for ice cream to comfort me. Took 2 ice cream cones to finally calm me down, lol. I told him about my concerns and that my mom and sister might demand to see my baby. It's a girl. He told he would talk to his uncle, who is a police officer, to be on the lookout for them. Even if they come here and force themselves on you, he would fight for it. He is going to consult his lawyer friend about this matter and told me not to worry about my ex. He cannot harm me anymore. My husband even made a joke that he would move countries if he had to. Lastly, someone in my post commented that I should alert the daycare about my mom and sister in case they try to steal my baby. Well, we aren't planning to put her in daycare. Even though I am currently working, I decided I would quit my job, look after my baby, and focus on healing from giving birth. I do have a good amount of savings in my personal bank, and this is my own decision. I will go back to work when our little princess is a little bit older. My in-laws are amazing. My MIL and FIL live nearby. They are both good people and offer to help with my child. Also, don't worry. Apart from my in-laws, I have a good support system too. Tina and her wife, Jenny, basically adopted me, lol. They are really good people and always helped me. I don't know what will happen in the future, but at least I am surrounded by some good people that I never had growing up. Now I will take your leave and enjoy my husband pampering me. If something big happens, I will keep you guys updated. And my ex, my sister, and my mother are all blocked. Now on to the next story. Story 3. So my girlfriend, 22F, and I, 24M, have been dating for about 4 years. When I first introduced her to my friends, I noticed that she was getting along really well with my cousin Sam, who was 24. They had a similar sense of humor and common interests. Seeing my girlfriend challenge him to a shots competition and get him drunk on tequila was the highlight of our first New Year's together. It made me really happy to see them become friends, since me and Sam are very close as well. Sam started dating Olivia, 24F, a year and a half ago, and they got engaged last December. He called me last week and asked me if I wanted to be the best man at his wedding. Obviously, I said yes. While we were talking, I mentioned how excited my girlfriend was for them and the wedding. He went silent. I asked if something was wrong, and he explained that Olivia and he planned a small wedding for just close family and friends. They decided not to invite partners unless they were married or engaged. I got upset, asking how they could make such a decision without considering our relationship. Sam told me that while he wanted my girlfriend there, if they made an exception for us, then other people would expect it as well, so there was nothing he could do. When I told my girlfriend about what happened, she was visibly hurt. So 2 days ago, I texted Olivia and asked her if she and Sam discussed our situation. She said that she doesn't want a stranger at their wedding and that she doesn't consider her family regardless of how serious our relationship is. I snapped and told Olivia that most of Sam's family, therefore mine, see my girlfriend as part of the family more than they see her, since she didn't bother to build relationships with relatives other than Sam's parents. Then Olivia got upset and told my cousin everything. He called and insisted I apologize if I wanted to remain the best man. I refused, saying I wouldn't attend without my girlfriend being invited. Sam hasn't talked to me since, and my girlfriend thinks I should apologize to salvage my relationship with my cousin. Aita, a wedding invitation is not a summons. They are free to make their choices, but you're also free to decline the invitation. What the heck kind of earth-shattering flood of plus ones are they expecting at an already small wedding? That's the flimsiest excuse I've ever heard. This would be reasonable if you just met. This might even be reasonable if you were a regular guest. However, you've been with your girlfriend for 4 years and you're the best man. Not allowing her to come is specifically callous. They're literally saying it's her or us, and your girlfriend is clearly the winner, simply by not picking the fight. They know her. She's not a stranger, but they're choosing to treat her like one. And if they lose her, and you by extension, that's the choice they made. It seems the groom felt ashamed and hesitant, indicating he knew it was unjust. This choice likely came from the bride feeling envious perhaps. Keep your heart open but not to blame. Sam is the one causing rifts. You exacerbated it by confronting the bride. Let this take its course. You care for Sam, but you can't compete with his determined bride. Opinion 2, NTA. You seem very serious in your relationship, and as you mentioned, your family has accepted your girlfriend as part of them. I think the fact your girlfriend got along so great with your cousin is the real issue. Olivia doesn't want her there. You're definitely NTA for defending your girlfriend. And to the no unmarried/unengaged couples rule is stupid and downplays a lot of perfectly valid couplings, yours included. If the bride doesn't want strangers at her wedding, don't invite someone who might bring a stranger. But it is their wedding, and they can make whatever stupid rules they want. You're well within your right to not go, and you're giving proper notice to do so. So no, you aren't the a-hole here. Next story. I met my husband 7 years ago when my son was 4. We found out we were expecting a daughter just 2 months after I started dating my partner, who has a biological child. Our relationship has been fantastic despite moving quickly. However, a recent issue arose. My son is turning 12 soon, and we promised him a phone for his birthday. He's been asking since he was 9 because all his friends have one and he feels left out. I felt terrible and wanted to cave several times but didn't because my husband and I already decided together that we would get him one at age 12. Now that his birthday is right around the corner, he's very fixated and excited that he would be able to get a phone. He's fully expecting it, which I already knew would happen because of how many times we told him, "When you're 12. Well, I was looking at phones online the other day that had some parental controls and all that happy jazz, and my husband decided in this moment that he doesn't think my son is old enough for a phone and that he should have to wait until he's at least 15. I told him that absolutely was not happening but entertained his reasoning to figure out the why. He said that basically, he didn't want my kid having access to any form of social media and he feels that getting him a phone would be forcing him to grow up too fast and be subjected to the media and ignorance. I reiterated that this was the deal we had with my kid and that I wasn't going back on it. Even though I disagreed with his reasoning, I didn't voice my disagreement. I stood firm on our promise. We argued about it for a good 30 minutes, with him insisting my son doesn't even need a phone. But in the end, I made it clear that it wasn't up for discussion. I told him my decision, I'm getting my kid a cell phone. He snapped back with, then it had better be a freaking flip phone, because I don't want him on the damn internet. He has not spoken to me since. Aita? Half my friends are on my side, but the other half says I need to consider what he's saying. A 1. Sorry to push this another 3 years after making your son wait 3 years will shatter any trust he has in you both. Better to make rules, use parental software effectively, and teach him responsibility than alienate him like this. A 2. All the other kids his age are going to have phones. On top of this, many modern-day middle school classrooms send out SMS reminders for homework, exams, and supplemental classroom information. Your husband needs to get with the times. 1993 was 30 years ago. What's your husband going to tell your kid when he's 15? Wait till you're 18. On top of that, refusing to give your kid any responsibility is a self-fulfilling endeavor that guarantees you have an irresponsible child. It's far better for the kid to get exposure to social media while he's still receptive to your guidance than it is to wait until he's in the I know better stage, where he'll completely ignore your warnings and stumble into trouble. A 3. You can limit access to kid's phone and he will find a way how to get on social media if he wants to. My 7-year-old who have problems with reading found a way how to access the internet outside our home. Best way is to teach them being approachable when kids find something disturbing and not to freak out on them for what they saw. Now on to the next story. Story 4. Refusing to go to the family vacation because my sister is making a demand for me to babysit at 2 to 3 a.m. was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents and they paid for my hotel room, only I had to share the room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room for themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead, I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free, and then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the drama started. I stated the previously listed things as to why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child last year. My parents told my sister and she called to blow up at me, saying that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year, all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now my sister is not speaking to me and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I the jerk for not giving in? I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. It's barely been an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help because I'm young and single, and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. Update. Well, I'm off work now so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved. They looked at my post and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here, but I told them that if they just listened to me to begin with, I'd have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They, in turn, went off on my sister and, to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been cancelled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway, but my parents were arguing with my sister. My sister is blaming me and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I had no life, which is why I had time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Small update. I wasn't going to update again, but here's a little more. My parents said that they won't ever push babysitting my nephews on me again and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim and my brother-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented. You made my day. Update 1. My parents apologized. My sister did not, at least at first. A week ago, I made this throwaway account to ask an "Am I the jerk?" question. I was found to be anything but. I have too much to say to post in "Am I the jerk?" as an update, so a friend recommended I come here. My posting on "Am I the jerk?" essentially opened a Pandora's box in the family. Basically, my parents and older sister had become very comfortable with me helping with the childcare of my young triplet nephews. I didn't leave home till I was 22 because I was trying to save money while also going to college. A scholarship covered a lot, and living at home kept me from getting rising debt due to my working part-time as well. I'm very thankful for this. However, after college, Everyone just seemed to act like I had endless time on my hands and convinced me along on a family vacation. On this so-called vacation, I was forced to babysit my 3, at the time 6-year-old nephews. I even had to share a hotel room with them, and believe me, those kids did not listen to a damn thing I said on the first night until I called their mother twice. I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to do other things during the trip, like if it's something the family doesn't enjoy as a whole, then it doesn't happen, which was extremely hypocritical because I'm family and wasn't included in that vote. And you can bet I aired this grievance with my parents after my last post, and they have acknowledged being in the wrong. After that awful vacation last year, I decided it was time to move out and did so before the summer even ended, which surprised everyone as I gave them no warning. I landed a great job pretty much right after college thanks to an internship, and used moving as an excuse to drop my commute from 45 minutes to 15. My sister hated this the most because it meant no more free babysitting on weekends, but she still tried to make me do it. I caved sometimes, usually by being bribed with pizza, and this sort of became a new norm. But then last month, my parents announced plans for another family vacation to the same place along the coast, and they basically wanted it to go the same way. I immediately saw it for what it was. A trap. I knew that if I rode with my parents and let them buy the hotel rooms, I would be screwed over the same way as last time. So I just casually stated I'd drive myself and pay for myself, and that's when the drama storm started. When my parents realized they couldn't entrap me like before, they resorted to borderline begging, and my sister practically tried to order me to go with the flow through gaslighting. Newsflash. I didn't. After I didn't cave to my sister's demands, I made the "Am I the jerk?" post after days of harassment, and then my sister somehow spotted the post in less than an hour. What followed was Pandora's box. At first, the family was against me. My sister called our parents, and they called me when I still had a little time to talk in the morning. My parents were on the phone with me while also reading my post. I asked them if anything in the post was a lie. They sort of steered around it and called the post an exaggeration, but I pointed out numerous details that made it pretty much on the mark. Then I told them to check the comments. They were already far too many to read. I was repeatedly refreshing the page on my home PC and telling them how many comments there were. Then I told them I was sick of their mentality of keeping the peace by forcing me to placate my sister. Then I said I was out of time and we would have to resume this later. While my parents were positively horrified that hundreds if not thousands of people were commenting in a matter of hours, and later on, I told them that the numbers had basically doubled and were still growing, which only added to their horror. So I guess they were forced to take a long look at their own actions. My sister tried to call me to complain while I was at work, but my phone was on silent till my lunch break, so all she could do was leave messages and texts. She was persistent and managed to get through to me when I was eating my lunch. The gist of the conversation was my post had taken our parents away from her side and now they were mad at her. In the ensuing argument between them, my parents canceled the entire vacation. Yes, they later acknowledged they just passed the blame out of embarrassment and fully accepted fault. They told me no excuses could excuse the fact they made me their go-to free babysitter when I wasn't even living at home anymore. They did try to backtrack a little by pointing out they never charged me rent while I was in college. But I reminded them kids don't ask to be born and I was doing my hardest to make my own way. Then I pointed out my father had the same kind of leg up from his parents. They let him live free of charge at home while he was in college. That basically ended any argument my parents had left. When my sister managed to call me at lunch, I presented the facts to her and she showed her true colors. She implied that I have no life and that my free time on weekends should be spent helping her because she is tired and unable to even go out without bringing her children with her unless someone is watching them. She is a stay-at-home mother with a husband that makes a decent salary. They live in a pretty decent house that's owned, not rented, and to be frank, my nephews aren't really my responsibility. They just forced them on me and expected it to stay that way. My sister angrily hung up on me, but I'd recorded the call and then played it to my parents later. They were furious and they basically went to war with my sister. My sister dug her heels in, blamed me, and then doubled down on her belief my life should circle around hers. I told her that was the most narcissistic and entitled thing she's ever said about me. It took days, but her husband finally stepped in and forced her to apologize to me. I'd never seen her cowed like that by anyone, but she was on the verge of crying. It ended up being admitted that one of the reasons I was the go-to babysitter was because my sister didn't trust strangers. It was never about the money, or was it? Actually, my brother-in-law thought my sister was paying me for my time watching her kids after I moved out of my parents' house. She didn't even give me gas money, just gave me cash that was enough to order pizza for both myself and the kids and pocket the rest. My sister had been shortchanging me for months. He blew up at her when this came out during her half-ass apology, and she was forced to pay me what she owed me in cash, entirely from her own savings, which she looked very sore about. Then my brother-in-law apologized to me for his own inaction in letting my sister walk all over me and promised they'd get a normal babysitter from now on. Yes, it'll cause a bit of a drop in the bucket for them, but my sister will be getting date nights back. Then came the family meeting the other day's evening. We all gathered up at my parents' house and everything was laid bare. Apologies all around and whatnot. Then my parents reinstated the family vacation and yes, I still plan to drive myself and pay for my own hotel stay. I'll even stay in a completely different hotel if my sister tries to revert me to childcare, and I have stated this. She's promised me that won't happen, and if I don't update again after the vacation in another month or so, then you'll all know everything is fine. Update 2. My sister called me demanding I take my posts down. Now she's more upset than ever to know how far it spread. Having a family that knows about your Reddit account has its disadvantages. Yesterday, my sister called me after I got off work to ask me if comments were still coming in. She said she could not bear the negativity of looking at them herself because the comments were all so hurtful towards her. So I was brutally honest. At least 10 comments are still coming in daily, and most of them more or less say the same things about her. She started crying and demanding I delete my Reddit posts, but I refused and told her she can cry to anyone she wants. But the posts stay up because they are my assurance she won't try to treat me like crap anymore. After all, she literally felt like my life should revolve around hers, didn't pay me the babysitting money she was supposed to and pocketed it for herself, and forced me to be the constant babysitter on last year's family vacation, so I had pretty much no fun the entire time. Is it really any wonder people are having so much hate for her when she treated me like that? Then when I mentioned the posts had already spread to other websites because I was asked a couple of times to let an article be made about my situation, and there are some videos that were read as well, my sister shrieked hearing that and hung up. My parents then called me, begging me to take the post down. I've refused and stated that I only did this because they didn't stick up for me. This would have never happened if they'd told my sister to treat me like an equal and not a servant. I'm not her butler, babysitter, or handyman. I'm her freaking brother and a grown-ass man. Wouldn't they be tired of this crap in my shoes too? They agreed but still begged me to take the posts down. I refused and said that I'd keep making more if they didn't start sticking up for me more when my sister came crying to them. Let her clean up her own messes because all the enabling of her led to this. I didn't father those kids. I've got a life of my own, a career I'm still new to, and hopefully soon enough, a girlfriend, as there's someone I want to ask out. I'm moving my life forward and I won't be held back. They could either step out of my way or keep trying to enable my sister, but I assured them that the latter would end badly for them. The only way this posting on Reddit will stop is if the drama stops. I've kept things anonymous and I've got a right to vent my very valid frustrations. Well, that left my mother crying. My father just went silent and I said tears don't move me. They know what it'll take to end this and it's to stop. Stop enabling my sister. Well, my sister called me again to yell at me that our parents had told her they weren't dealing with this anymore and to figure it out herself. Oh, and they told her to be nicer to me too. I just pictured her eye twitching as she internally screamed after hearing that. Be nice to my kid brother? What is this? Do I look it up on Google? Yeah, I was that sarcastic to her. But it left her crying too when I hung up. My brother-in-law called me later to get my side of the story. He was mad I'm still posting and made his wife cry. But I explained everything to him and he said he'd have another talk with my sister. I'm hoping this drama finally ends here. But the family vacation is still on for late June. I've already booked my room and put in for a day off work so we can all leave on a Friday. My room is also not near the ones my parents, sister, Bil, and nephews will be using. In fact, it's not even on the same floor. And when we go to the coast, when it's not a family activity, I'm gonna go where I want and do what I want. And you can bet I'm gonna tour those art galleries, pig out on local food, and just enjoy being carefree for a change. Update 3. After the family vacation. Well, the family vacation is over. Some things, both good and bad, went as expected. Good in that my parents didn't enable my sisters trying to make me babysit. Oh yes, she did try. But bad in that being my sister did try to find out which room I was in. But that failed and got her in trouble with her husband again. Firstly, I made sure to tell the hotel in advance that they were not to give out any of my information to anyone who asked, except for police if something needing that were to come to pass. They assured me over the phone they would not tell a soul. Then, on the day of the vacation, I left earlier in the morning than the rest of the family. I knew they wouldn't be able to get moving as a group until at least 10 a.m., so I left at 9 a.m. Check-in wouldn't be until 1 p.m., but I wanted to make sure I had a head start. I sent out an FWI group text and was off like a shot to make the 3-hour drive. My parents were upset because they'd planned a family brunch on the way, but I pointed out I was never made aware of that, so it was canceled in favor of fast food like I planned. I arrived to the hotel early, too early for check-in, but I told the desk staff I was there to make sure my parents or sister didn't give them my information. They claimed they don't do that, but I told them I know for a fact it still happens sometimes, so I'm covering my ass when they happen to be dealing with my mother and my sister and 3 potentially crying boys trying to guilt them at the desk. They had better not yield, and I wanted to know if they tried anything. They awkwardly promised me no one, but I would get access to my room. Then I decided to go out and get something to eat. I came back more than an hour later and there was my parents' car and my BIL's big SUV. I went to the desk to check in after making sure the lobby was clear, and it was. Then I asked the clerk if my family had asked about me and where I was staying in the hotel. Yeah, they did, but the clerk refused to tell them. My sister had apparently tried to push it, but her husband shut her up. I checked in, went to my room, and then called my folks. I didn't mention I knew what they tried with the clerk, and they conveniently didn't mention it either. Then we all met up as a family to go out and tour around. My sister, at one point, asked me to watch her kids for a moment, to which I replied, hell no, because I knew exactly what she was doing. She would pretend to be gone for a moment and then would be gone for an hour. I called her out and her husband told her to stop trying to make me watch their kids. What did my sister do? She just started crying on the spot that she needed a break. Her husband scolded her that he was a tired man, but he wasn't complaining. My mother gave me a nasty look, so I went right to her and said that if she tried to even think that I should be watching those kids, I would walk away from this family vacation right now. It's not my job and I'm sick and tired of her and my sister acting like it is. Well, that made my mother start crying too. And then she just started repeating the words, "You're right," over and over again. This is another old tactic of hers. She tried to look pathetic to guilt me, but I just said, I am right, and just let it go before walking away. Neither my mother nor sister tried anything for the rest of the day. When we got back to the hotel after dinner, my family was crowding the elevator, but I didn't get in with them. They asked why and I said I'd wait for the next one. My sister glared at me because she knew exactly what I was doing. Then I just sat in the lobby watching YouTube on my phone for 15 minutes and then took the elevator up. I was on a different floor and on the other end of the hotel. I had a splendid night. The next morning we all went out for breakfast, but I made sure they left first. I was the last one out, just like I was the last one in the night before. Breakfast went fine. Then I gave an FWI that I was going to be doing my own thing for the day. My mother tried to bring up plans to go to the aquarium and a couple of other places, so I said I'd meet them for those, but the rest of the day was mine until family dinner. They accepted this and that day went fine too. Back at the hotel that evening though, my sister caught me leaving my room. She must have been stalking the whole floor looking for me. I went back to my room to chill a bit before dinner because I was tired from walking so much, and my sister was just down the hall when I left my room to meet them for dinner. She tried to corner me and say that I'd ruined the family vacation for her because now it was hardly any different for her than at home since she had to wrangle her kids. I called bullshit because my parents were helping her a lot, then told her that I'm sick of this song and dance of being her scapegoat and it's already over, so leave me the hell alone and get on with your own life. Then I started walking with her yelling, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you." I told her I didn't give a crap and was going to dinner. She followed me to the elevator and we both said nothing to each other. I didn't stay silent and told my parents and my brother-in-law that my sister had stalked me to find my room. She was scolded like a child. She had a pity party. I told her to stop milking it and grow up. The old days when she could force her will on me were over, and then I walked out of the lobby into my car. This time I was the first one to dinner. When everyone else arrived, my sister looked depressed. But not a damn thing was said about what happened before, and that was just fine with me. My sister refrained from making contact with me the entire evening, and this time I didn't give a crap about riding in the elevator with the rest of them. I told them bluntly that unless it was an emergency, no one was to come knocking on my door. I had to do not disturb sign for a reason. On the final day, everything went swimmingly. Neither my sister nor my mother bothered me at all. They'd fully surrendered at this point. Yes, during the whole vacation I did play with my nephews a bit. I'm not a complete jerk. I didn't stonewall them. I kept up being the fun uncle, just not the babysitter uncle. The kids didn't even seem to care. They just wanted to play. I even bought each of them one of those little baggies of crystals and polished stones to take home as a souvenir. There was a bit of mild drama between my sister and her husband, but that was just some small disagreements that I didn't bother to pay attention to. All in all, I'd call the vacation a win because it finally hit home for my mother and sister that the old way they did things involving me is over and I have my own life. Update 4. Mother and sister saw my last post. They really don't know when to let well enough alone.
Gay mom. Gay sis.
I warned you that if you didn't stop, I would go right back to Reddit, and here I am. The short of it is that my mother and sister saw my last post and freaked out. My sister was stalking my account for days because she knew I'd post. Well, what did she expect? I would just say everybody had a good time? She called me and cried that I made her look like a bad mother. I ended up replying, well, if the glass slipper fits. My sister argued with me some more, but I asked her to name anything in the post that was a lie. She tried several times, but I pointed out that every detail was spot on. So what does she do? She calls mommy. Then my mother showed up at my door demanding I delete all the posts. I told her no, and now I have ammunition for one more. I ended up making her leave crying. I spoke with my mother and father over the phone later and bluntly told them that their enabling of my sister led to the previous family dynamic. I will never go back to how things were. So if they have any hope of that left, I'm snuffing it out for good. My parents then told my sister for the love of God to stop blaming me and to leave me alone. They can't take the stress of my retaliation anymore. Well, my sister had a literal, no one loves me pity party, and my parents had to snap her back to reality. My brother-in-law hasn't called. Pretty sure he's staying neutral, but this can't be good for his marriage or my familial connection to him. So, out of respect to my brother-in-law, I am sorry, man, but your wife just pushed me too far. Currently, my parents are insisting my sister get counseling because she can't be a mom and juggle the habits of her old life too. Woman up, as they say. Either way, I'm hoping this is my last post. You hear that, sis? If you don't stop thinking I should have been your personal slave, babysitter, watchdog, and so on, and want to keep acting like the whole world is against you because you can't lord over me, then we can't be around each other. Maybe we can get along and move past this crap if you're willing. Don't give me a reason to write anything else, and the Reddit posts about you end here. I'll only post ones involving me and the treatment I get from people. Treat me like a decent human being and this will be over. Capiche? Update. My parents and I had a long talk in which they apologized, and for the moment we have agreed that I'll keep a bit of a distance until Thanksgiving. I also had a man-to-man talk with my brother-in-law last night over some cold beers. He told my sister she needed counseling or he would separate from her, and they are in the process of finding her a counselor. He also told me that while my sister was an absolute witch to me, at home she was a very loving and endearing wife, but she also admitted that she liked being an only child. We're nearly a decade apart in age, so my sister held on to some resentment about that for a long time and just let it build up. She's agreed that she does need counseling and will be going as soon as they get it set up. They've also found a qualified babysitter to look after my nephews. Aside from those things, my brother-in-law did admit that he was angry with me too, but didn't step in when I needed him. So we've agreed that this was all just a very bad situation that needs to be ended. So we're just going to let it rest in peace from here on out. Lastly, these posts have gotten me a girlfriend. The girl I liked had a feeling it was me after she read them and was just waiting for me to say something. We'll be going on our first date tonight. So I thank everybody here for their immense support. I really needed it. Now on to the next story. Story 5. I'm 24 female and I have an older sister, 28 female. We're not very close with one another. The biggest reason why we are not so close is because of how everyone has treated us differently, as she is the older daughter. Somewhere, she got the better end of the stick and she was always treated a lot better than I was growing up. Something always felt off to me. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But as I got older, all these moments started adding up, painting a clear picture. It was undeniable she was the golden child, the one everyone favored. No matter what she did, even if it was utterly crazy, she always got the benefit of the doubt. It was like she had this invisible shield around her, protecting her from any blame or consequences. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. It happened repeatedly, creating this unfair pattern. She could make mistakes, big or small, and it was always overlooked or excused. It was frustrating and baffling to witness how differently she was treated compared to the rest of us. While I was not. It was not a good feeling. I tried to overcome it, but the only way I could do it was by moving away from the house. I would say I succeeded in doing that because since I moved out, I've been able to take care of my mental health a lot better. But I would be lying if I said that things were fine since I moved out. When I was 18, my sister did everything to ruin my image in the eyes of my parents. She told my parents that I was doing drugs and drinking alcohol when I was not, and my parents believed her over me. They did not think about believing me for a second. I was okay with sitting for a drug test just to prove my innocence, but they could not be bothered. The big takeaway from all of this is that my bond with my parents took a hit because of my sister. When I finally moved out and the dust settled, I made a conscious decision to cut ties with my parents for a good 2 years. I just didn't want them in my life at all, and honestly, it felt pretty great being free from all that drama. I could focus on my career, my life, my boyfriend, and everything else. I was leading a happy life without the thought of them affecting me in the slightest. But things took a turn for the worse when COVID hit. I was not talking with them during the first months of lockdown, but then I got news that my dad was hospitalized. I felt like it is the duty of a daughter to show up for him. I do not believe in treating someone the way they treat me. I treat people the way I want to treat them. And despite everything, I wanted to be there for him. Owing to his hospital stay, I started talking to my parents. Things have been fine since then. We began patching things up. My sister wasn't thrilled, but I made it clear that I was determined to stick to my decisions. Moreover, when my parents approached me about their financial struggles, I stepped in to assist as much as possible. I realized it might sound strange, but in my mind, I felt that by being there in places where my sister wasn't, I could somehow balance the scales and be seen as an equal. This was because I knew my sister was waiting just around the corner to sabotage the whole relationship that I had with them. Helping them out financially actually worked in my favor the way I had intended, because whenever my sister tried to do some messed up stuff, my parents were open about how she did not show up when they needed her, so there's no need for her to talk bad about me. I would be lying if I said that I did not know that they did not want to piss me off because they were scared I would stop helping them. It was true. I knew I was going to stop helping them if they did anything wrong, and based on their financial condition, they needed whatever help they could get. I could be considered a bad person, but then again, I wanted to not be treated like garbage anymore, so I was willing to do whatever was required. While all of this was happening, my boyfriend and I were going steady. After our 4th anniversary, he proposed to me. I accepted, and it felt like finally, my life was looking up. I had a decent, symbiotic relationship with my parents, my job was going well, and on top of that, my boyfriend and I were engaged to be married. Everything was planned out beautifully, and I was very excited. The only person who was not excited was my sister. She could not imagine why I thought I should get married so young when she's not even married. I'll level with you, my sister's track record with relationships has been shaky at best. Nothing ever lasted beyond a year, so it's no surprise she isn't married. Her whole argument that I shouldn't get married because she isn't sounded like a load of nonsense, to put it frankly. I chose to respectfully brush off her opinion. The wedding was planned for a weekend to ensure everyone could be there, and I sent out the invitations. I sent invitations to my sister and my parents because, despite everything, I really wanted my family to be there. The wedding was a week ago, last Saturday, and guess what happened? My parents did not show up. You could be thinking that something had happened or something, maybe something made. No. They did not show up because my sister decided to host a lunch at her place on the same date. And my parents decided it's much more important to meet their older daughter for her lunch than be there for their youngest daughter for her wedding. Their behavior hit me hard. It was beyond unsettling. It felt like a twisted joke. Because they didn't bother to inform me they weren't coming, I kept waiting for 30 agonizing minutes, holding on to hope, until my mom revealed my sister's social media post to me. And that was when I found out that they were not coming. They looked so happy sitting next to her, as if she was the only daughter that they had. I decided at that moment I do not plan on helping them anymore. I decided that I am 7 years too late to cut them off, but now is as good a time as any. So that is what I did. After my wedding was done, I sent them a message clearly stating that I will never consider them as my parents again, because they have repeatedly chosen my sister over me, even when I have pulled through wherever she lacked. And as they refuse to respect me, I will not respect them either. Since then, I've stopped calling them mom and dad, and they're not happy. They have sent me several messages trying to excuse their behavior, but I am adamant. I do not plan on being nice to them in the slightest. But somewhere I feel like a huge a-hole for treating them that way. So I guess that's why I'm here, AITA? Or am I overthinking? Update 1. Hey everyone, I really appreciate you guys being there for me. Sorry it took me a while to update you guys. Upon returning from my honeymoon, I wanted to share my thoughts with you all. I don't believe I'm in the wrong, but oddly enough, hearing you say that I'm not an a-hole made my day. I've been dodging my entire family since then because they've been bombarding me with messages online. My sister and parents think they did nothing wrong and I'm the one who's overreacting. My parents are not very happy with me refusing to pay for their stuff as well. They know very well that my sister is not going to pay for anything because she does not have the money to spare. But oh well. I'm not planning on being friendly with them anymore. I hate that they made me feel like that. Update 2. So I know it's been about 3 days since I last updated you guys. Yesterday, my mother showed up at my place. I did not want to talk to her in the slightest, but she had been waiting outside my apartment for hours before I came. That is what my neighbors told me later. So thinking it might be best, I decided to open up to her. Turns out that wasn't the wisest move. As soon as the door shut, my mom unleashed her fury on me. According to her, I was being unreasonable, practically labeling them as villains. She argued that just because I'm married doesn't mean I should act like my spouse is my only family. I have a family, and I should treat my parents and sister as my family too. I told her that whatever she's saying would be applicable if she ever treated me as family. But she never did. I was always treated like I was useless. Every time I needed them, she did not pull up. So what is the point of her coming to me and now pretending like I mean something to her? I also pointed out to her that even though she could have chosen to be there for me, she chose my sister on the day of my wedding. But my mom was so far up in her head. She did not think that what she was doing was bad in any shape or form. It was pathetic seeing her behave the way she was behaving. It was sad. She did not think whatever she did was at all offensive or can be considered offensive by anyone. Instead, she insisted that I was the one who overreacted, and I hated that. I told her to get out and never get back in touch with me again unless she's ready to accept that she has been choosing my sister over me and things are shifting in how my mom interacts with me now. She called me crazy, and I simply told her she could leave and never bother to reconnect if that's her stance. Update 3. Hi everyone. It's been a bit since I last updated you. I appreciate all the support from those who cheered me on during that conversation. I'm going to cut off my parents. I appreciate that very much. I told you guys in the last update how my conversation with my mother ended up. We have not been talking since then. My father has been reaching out to me, and I have been ignoring him as well. My sister has messaged me on social media asking me to grow up and stop overreacting. But lunch was really important to her and family members have to sometimes sacrifice things for each other. I told her and my father the same thing I told my mother, and I have been adamant about the whole thing. While I do want to have a healthy relationship with my mother and father, Unless they're willing to put in the work, I will not be the one carrying the whole weight on my shoulders.
Up, Entea.
Honestly, you are my hero because I'm in a situation similar to yours with a family that is blatant about their favoritism. And honestly, if I could leave, I would do the same thing that you're doing. TA, they do not deserve to be called mom and dad if they're not willing to be a mom and dad to you. Anyone who thinks otherwise can take a long walk off a short pier. We have reached the end. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.